We're still discussing the book titled The Pulpits That Blinded Africa. And in today's episode, we'll be discussing Chapter 5, The Death of Thinking. There's a quiet graveyard in many societies, not filled with bones, but with buried questions, suppressed curiosity, and silenced reasoning. Engineer CC, how did we get here?
It didn't happen overnight, it was cultivated. For decades, certain preaching styles framed intellect as a threat to faith. Questions were labeled rebellion. Analysis was called pride. Faith became performance. Thinking became sin.
That reminds me of a scene from a major church in Lagos. A pastor shouted, "When you come before this altar, switch off your mind. Thinking is why you can't receive miracles."
And the crowd applauded.
A 62-year-old widow wrote in her notebook, "Mind is enemy of miracles."
That's powerful. That's how it works. The widow didn't realize she had just attended her own intellectual funeral. First, anti-questioning doctrine, asking why was rebellion. Second, a false war between faith and logic. Third, demonizing doubt as if curiosity were satanic. And then the cult of spiritual authority. If the pastor says it, it must be true, even if reality disagrees. That produces borrowed minds. People stop thinking for themselves. Whatever pastor says stands. If someone else says otherwise, you become the enemy.
And when that happens, the consequences are real. Like the teacher in Cameroon, who stopped taking her hypertension medication because her pastor said, "If you take medicine, you doubt God." 2 weeks later, she collapsed in her classroom. Her doctor called it medical neglect. Her church called it spiritual attack.
Only one diagnosis made sense here. Emotion played a huge role too. Churches learned that if you control emotion, you control belief. Music is to dissolve resistance. Chants repeated until logic fades. Prophetic drama, crowd psychology. At a revival in Lusaka, a pastor claimed a woman's IQ increased after he laid hands on her. No test, no exam, no proof of pastor's claim, but the applause drowned out logic. Thinking doesn't always die through violence. Sometimes it dies through celebration and doctor testimonies.
If pastors can impact IQ by laying of hands, then we may not have need for education.
That's a good point. Across West Africa, universities host deliverance nights to cast out the spirit of failure. Thousands attend. Few visit libraries.
That's true. Students now are busy writing prayer points instead of research guidance.
And the result? Spiritually energized students, but intellectually malnourished. Also, that has economic consequences. When there's no critical thinking, corruption thrives. When there's no innovation, dependence grows. When there's no skepticism, scams flourish. Look at Nigeria, where billions flow into miracle churches while research funding struggles. When thought is replaced by submission, society pays dearly.
In the book, a 16-year-old boy who loves science asked a simple question: why give us brains if thinking is dangerous?
And he was told his questions came from the spirit of doubt.
He stopped asking, and eventually he stopped attending church.
Exactly. Not because he lost faith, but because he couldn't suffocate his mind. He's still faithful. People don't know. When thinking dies, freedom dies, creativity dies, innovation dies, accountability dies. Real faith is not afraid of questioning or opinion. It's only manipulative faith that gets angry at different opinions.
Absolutely. Maybe the real tragedy isn't that people believe deeply, it's that their belief can be so easily exploited. And many don't realize what they call obedience may actually be intellectual surrender.
That's a powerful insight.
And what they call faith may sometimes be fear wrapped in spirituality.
And what God gave as a gift, the mind, was never meant to be buried in blind obedience to pastors.
All right, we'll stop here, guys. Thank you, Engineer CC, for coming around. Please DM him if you desire private counseling. Also, remember this book is available on Amazon. See you guys in the next episode. My name is Amanda. Thank you.
Thanks, Amanda.